Think about the last time you laughed so hard with a friend that you forgot what language you were even speaking. Just pure connection. No thinking, no translating, no stress. What if I told you that feeling, that exact feeling, is actually the fastest way to learn English? Not textbooks, not apps, not grammar drills. Your friends. And today, we're going to show you exactly how.
Oh wow, welcome back to Easy English Space. Hi there.
We're really glad you found us. I'm Henry.
And I'm Julia. And okay, today's topic has me very, very excited. We're talking about how to learn English fast, and I mean actually fast, with your friends. And look, if you've ever tried to study alone and just given up after 20 minutes, this episode is for you. Okay, so Henry, let's start with the big question. Why is learning with friends actually faster? Like, is there a real reason, or is it just more fun?
Both. It's both. But let's talk about the real reason first, because I think it's more interesting than people expect. When you learn with a friend, your brain is doing something completely different than when you study alone. Alone, you're in information mode. You're receiving. You're reading, watching, listening. But with a friend, you're in communication mode. And communication mode is what your brain actually needs to build fluency.
Ooh, say that again.
Communication mode. That's where the real learning happens. Not receiving English, using it in real time with a real person with real pressure to be understood.
Yes, because when you're talking to a real person, you can't pause, you can't rewind. You have to find the word now. And that urgency, that little bit of pressure, it makes your brain work faster and remember things better.
Exactly. It's like the difference between watching someone swim and actually getting in the water. You can watch for years, but the moment you're in the water, you learn in a way that watching never gives you.
Okay, that's a really good analogy. I'm stealing that.
It's yours.
Thank you. Okay, but let's be real for a second, because I know listeners are thinking, okay, but my friends don't want to learn English. They think it's boring or they're embarrassed. And that is so real. I had this exact problem.
Tell us.
So a few years ago, I really wanted a study partner, and I asked my friend Priya, and she said, "Oh, I don't know, my English isn't good enough to practice." And I thought, wait, that's exactly why you should practice. But she didn't see it that way. To her, practicing meant showing someone her weakness, and that felt scary.
Yeah, that's such a common thing, actually. People wait until they're good enough to practice, but that's backwards. You practice to get good enough, not after.
Exactly. And eventually, Priya agreed to just try it for 10 minutes, just 10. And we had this silly conversation about what we'd eat if we could only eat one food forever. And she forgot she was practicing. She was just talking, laughing, and her English came out. It was right there. It just needed a reason to come out.
And that's the magic of learning with friends. The friendship removes the judgment. When you're with someone you trust, the fear gets quieter. And when the fear gets quieter, the language gets louder.
Oh, I love that. When the fear gets quieter, the language gets louder. Write that down, listeners.
Now, let's get practical, because we have actual strategies today. Real things you and your friend can do together to learn English fast. Not just watch a movie together. Specific, useful, fun activities that actually work.
Yes. Okay, strategy number 1. And this is my favorite because it's so simple. English only time. You and your friend agree on a specific time, maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour, where you only speak English. That's it. Only English. No switching to your first language, no matter what.
And people always push back on this. They say, but what if I don't know the word? And the answer is, describe it. That's actually an incredibly useful skill. If you don't know the word umbrella, you say, the thing you hold when it rains. And your friend either knows the word, or you both laugh and look it up together.
And that right there is real English. That is exactly what fluent speakers do when they forget a word. They describe around it. It's called circumlocution, which is a very fancy word for talking around something. And it's a real communication skill.
A very real one. So listeners, quick practice. Imagine you forgot the word refrigerator. How would you describe it? Say it out loud. Something like, the big cold box in the kitchen where you keep food. Try it. Make up your own description right now.
And write your description in the comments if you want. We'd love to read them. Honestly, some of them will be hilarious, and I'm here for it.
Strategy number 2 is what I call the reaction game. And it's so easy. You and your friend watch a short video together, a YouTube clip, a movie scene, anything. And then you pause it, and you both react in English. Just say what you thought. Wait, I didn't expect that. That was so funny. I don't understand why she did that. Just reactions, natural, spontaneous reactions in English.
And this is brilliant because reactions are the hardest thing to practice alone. When you're alone, you can practice grammar, you can memorize vocabulary, but reacting in English, that instant emotional response, that's a social skill. You need another person for that.
And it teaches you some of the most natural English phrases. Things like, no way, wait, really? Oh, that makes sense now. Huh, oh no. Those little phrases that make you sound so fluent, so natural. They come from practice in real reactions.
Okay, let's practice a reaction right now. I'm going to say something surprising, and you react in English. Ready? Here's the surprise. It's raining inside a building because the roof has a huge hole. Go, react, out loud, say something.
What did you say? Write it in the comments. No way, that's a disaster. Whatever came out, that was your natural English brain working. Good job.
I love that. Okay, strategy 3. This one's a little more emotional, actually. It's called the story swap. You and your friend each share a short personal story in English, just 2 or 3 minutes, something real, something that actually happened to you.
And this one changed everything for me when I tried it. Because personal stories make you reach for language you'd never find in a textbook. You need words for your specific feelings, your specific memories, your specific experiences. And that searching, that reaching, builds vocabulary in a way that sticks.
It's so true because you remember the word because it was attached to something real, something emotional. Like, I still remember the English word mortified because I learned it the day I told my English study partner about the time I accidentally called my teacher Mom in front of the whole class.
No, you didn't.
I did. I was 12. I panicked. And the whole class went silent and I just wanted to disappear into the floor. And when I told that story in English, I needed the word for that feeling. And we looked it up together and it was mortified. And I will never, ever forget that word.
See, that's the power of story. The emotion brands the language into your memory.
Exactly. So for the story swap, it doesn't have to be embarrassing. It can be funny or happy or even a little sad. Any real moment. The rule is tell it in English, start to finish, no switching languages.
And your friend listens, and they can ask questions after. Simple questions like, what happened next? Or how did you feel? And suddenly you have a real conversation, a meaningful one. Not, what's the weather today? A real one.
Okay, I want to pause here for a second because I want to talk about something that comes up a lot. What if your friend keeps correcting you? Like every sentence they stop you and say, no, that's wrong, it should be duh, and it just kills the flow.
Oh, the overcorrector, yes.
The overcorrector. And it's coming from a good place, usually. They want to help, but it actually makes things worse because you start second-guessing every word. You get nervous, you slow down, you stop taking risks.
Right, and this is something you actually have to talk about with your study friend before you start. Set a rule, a correction rule. And the rule that works best, in my experience, is this. Only correct something if the other person completely couldn't be understood. Not if it was imperfect, not if the tense was slightly wrong. Only if it was genuinely unclear.
And even then, not by interrupting. By waiting until after the sentence and then gently saying, "Oh, I think the word might be," or "Actually, I think that phrase is," soft, gentle, like a friend, not a teacher.
Because you want your English practice sessions to feel like a game, not like a test. Tests make people freeze. Games make people try things.
Okay, I want to do a quick practice moment here, a real one. Say this phrase with us, nice and confident. Ready? Can I try saying that again? Go. Can I try saying that again? Perfect. That phrase is gold. When you make a mistake in a conversation and you want to fix it, just say that. Can I try saying that again? It's natural, it's confident, and it actually makes you sound more fluent, not less.
Because fluent speakers fix their mistakes out loud all the time. They don't pretend the mistake didn't happen, they just calmly try again.
Now, I want to talk about something that I think most advice on this topic completely misses, and it's this. The language you use with friends is different from the language in textbooks, and if you're only studying textbook English, you'll always feel a little off in real conversations.
Yeah, this is so true. Textbook English is very polite, very formal. Would you like to proceed? I beg your pardon? In real life with friends, it's more like, so what's the plan? Wait, what? Yeah, totally. Ugh, same.
Same. That one word, same, is like, it means I completely relate to you and I feel exactly that way. It's one word doing so much emotional work.
And you can only really learn that kind of language by hearing it used naturally, by a friend, in context. Because if I write, same on a flashcard, it means nothing. But if your friend tells you about a really bad day and you say, same, and they laugh and feel understood, you'll remember it forever.
Forever. Okay, so let's talk about something else. What if you genuinely don't have a friend right now who wants to learn English with you? What if you feel like you're on this journey alone?
Well, first of all, that's more common than you think. And it's a little lonely sometimes. I don't want to pretend it isn't.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. You can make English friends. Online, in communities, in comment sections like ours. People who are learning the same things, feeling the same frustrations, celebrating the same small wins. Those are real connections. They just look a little different from what we traditionally think of as studying with a friend.
And honestly, this comment section is a community. Like the people who watch Easy English Space, you're not watching alone. There are people from so many different countries, so many different backgrounds, all learning together. That's a kind of friendship, a shared journey.
It really is. And if you ever want an English practice partner, just say so in the comments. Say, I'm looking for an English practice buddy. You might be surprised who responds.
I love that idea. Do it. Write it in the comments right now if you want a practice partner. We'll see what happens.
Okay, let's talk about one more strategy before we start wrapping up. And this one is my personal favorite.
Ooh, what is it?
The English Challenge Dare. You and your friend give each other a dare every week, a small English challenge, something a little outside your comfort zone. Like, this week, your dare is to leave a comment in English under 3 YouTube videos. Or your dare is to write a caption in English for your next photo. Or your dare is to say 1 sentence in English to a stranger.
I love the word dare because it makes it feel exciting, not like homework, like an adventure.
And the key is you report back to each other. You tell your friend what happened in English. So the dare creates the story, and the story creates the practice. It's this beautiful little loop.
And you laugh together. You cringe together. You cheer each other on. That whole emotional experience, it's bonding. And bonded learning is the deepest kind of learning there is.
It really is. I had a friend, let's call him Sami, and Sami and I used to give each other these tiny English dares, and one week I dared him to call a restaurant and make a reservation in English, just a short phone call.
Ooh, phone calls in a second language are terrifying.
Terrifying. And he did it. He called. It was a little awkward. The person at the restaurant had to ask him to repeat himself once, but he made the reservation. And he called me immediately after, in English, just to tell me. And he was so proud. You could hear it in his voice.
Oh.
And I remember thinking, that's not just English progress. That's confidence building. That's someone realizing I can do hard things. And having a friend to share that with made it real.
That's such a beautiful story because it shows that the friend isn't just a language tool. They're your witness. They see you trying. They celebrate you. And that matters so much more than any textbook ever could.
So much more.
Okay, let me just do one final little practice before we close out today, because I want to give you something to take with you, a phrase you can use the next time you want to invite a friend into this journey. Say this with us. Ready? Hey, want to practice English with me? Just for fun? Go. Hey, want to practice English with me? Just for fun? Say it again, a little more casual this time. Hey, want to practice English with me? Just for fun?
And notice, just for fun. Those 3 words take all the pressure away. You're not asking them to study, you're asking them to have fun. That's a very different invitation.
A very different invitation, and most people will say yes to fun.
Most people will always say yes to fun.
Okay, before we wrap up, and honestly, this community means so much to us. If you haven't subscribed to Easy English Space yet, please do. We put everything into these episodes, and we make them for you every single week.
Every week, we're here.
Okay, 2 questions for the comments today. 1, do you have a friend you're going to start practicing English with? Who is it? Tell us about them. And 2, which strategy from today are you going to try first? The English only time, the reaction game, the story swap, or the English challenge dare?
Write it below. We genuinely love reading your answers, every single one.
And for today's homework, super easy, low pressure, just write 1 sentence in English in the comments about a memory or a funny story from your life. Anything. 1 sentence. That's your story swap practice, right here, right now, with this whole community.
You can do it. 1 sentence. We believe in you.
And hey, next episode is one I've been excited about for a long time. We're going to break down every grammar structure you actually need for fluent English. Not the stuff that's in every textbook, the real ones, the ones that native speakers actually use. It's going to be so practical and so useful.
Don't miss it. It might be one of the most useful episodes we've ever made.
It really might be. Okay, that's everything from us today. Thank you for spending this time here. You showed up, you practiced, you're doing it, and we're proud of you, honestly.
See you next time.